अस्सलाम वालेकुम जी। उम्मीद है आप सब ठीक होंगे। टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू स्टार्ट द चैप्टर नंबर 3 of business ethics, social responsibility and environmental sustainability. My dear students, actually this chapter is a chapter number 10 in 13th edition of Strategic Management book by Fred David. But uh, in the latest edition of the same book, they have converted it to the chapter number 3. So that's why now we're going to start this chapter. In my point of view, this chapter is the most important chapter of this book. Reason behind, as I told you in the previous sessions, that there were three theories onto which strategic management has worked, and in different time eras. Like initially I told you that they have start working on IO approach, industrial organizational approach, then it is on the resource based approach, and now they have moved on to the triple bottom line. And this chapter has a complete focus onto the triple bottom line approach, as two of the main component of triple bottom line are going to be discussed into chapter. The first one is social responsibility and the second one is environmental sustainability. As third part is the economic part, and that's not going to be discussed into this chapter, but two of the main components. So let's see what we are going to see into this chapter. Obviously, we're going to have three parts: business ethics, social responsibility, and the environmental sustainability. First of all, I'm going to discuss with you the business ethics. What is the ethics? Despite I'll go for the business ethics first, I would like to discuss what is the ethics. Ethics are not only prevail in some business, they are also the part of a societal norms. So when we are going to refer to the ethics, it has very simple and straightforward definition. The values and norms generally acceptable by a society. As they have said, generally acceptable by a society. So it means ethics are different for different societies. And when we talk about the business ethics, the values and norms accepted by an organization. So we can say that every organization has their own ethics, acceptable behaviors and norms. It means there could be some norms which are acceptable in one organization, but they are not acceptable in another organization. So if every organization is going to have their own ethics, how the employees are going to know about it? Obviously, they should be communicated about the business ethics which they need to follow during their job in that organization. So let's see. some of the main concepts of business ethics. First of all, the definition: principles of conduct within organization that guide decision making and behavior. So, what principles are going to be governed by this organization for the purpose of decision making and the behavior? So, these principles are going to drive the conducts in the way the organization needs. And obviously, the top management of the organization. Now it is talk about Code of Business Ethics, a document that provides behavioral guidelines that cover daily activities and decisions within the organization. My dear students, today I have brought two documents about Code of Ethics, and whatever we are going to study today into this chapter, you are supposed to analyze those two documents, and you need to conclude that what is the difference between the code of ethics of these two organizations, and what are the deficiencies and what are the uh, advantages of each of the organizations going to have into their code of business ethics. So it is the same, whatever your business ethics are, you are going to document them so you can easily communicate those ethics with your employees. Now, the ethics culture. Basically, what is the culture? Culture is the shared values and norms of an organization, and ethics define those values and norms. So, if we want to have a specific culture into an organization, what we need to do? We need to offer the ethics training to our employees, and it should include a message from the CEO, the top manager, because that is the most inspirational personality in the organization. Many of the employees are the followers of the CEO, and they follow him or her as the leader of the organization. Number two, development and discussion of codes of ethics. This training is not only going to communicate the code of ethics, they are going to develop the code of ethics with the help of the employees. Might be there is some perspective which is not a part of your code of ethics and it should be there. So you need to discuss your existing code of ethics and you need to develop or improve your code of ethics with the help of employees. And the benefit of the discussion is that everyone got the good knowledge of the code of ethics. Number three, procedure for discussing and reporting unethical behavior. There should be some way through which you can discuss and you can report the unethical behavior. My dear students, as I discussed to you in the last slide, that today I have the document of two organizations, and the document is about code of ethics. So you need to identify that which organization has given the procedure for discussing and reporting the unethical behavior and which organization has not given. Is there a message from the CEOs given there? Did they talk about the development and discussion of code of ethics with the employees or not? So these things you need to look into those documents. So further, when we talk about the ethics culture, so what we need to do to align ethical and strategic decision making. Uh, yes, now we need to move on to this side, that how the ethical culture can help in the strategic decision making. This is very important. Do we have some concern of strategic decision making with the ethics? My dear students, please keep in mind that this ethical behavior is, we have this ethical culture also to communicate with external stakeholders, with the customers, with the suppliers, with the uh, partners, distributors, retailers. We need to communicate this with them, and we need to focus that strategic decision making should be aligned with the ethical behaviors and ethical culture. So, for the purpose, we need to incorporate ethical considerations into long-term planning. That a long-term planning should be something which is going to be planned, which is going to be performed in an ethical way. Furthermore, incorporate ethical consideration into performance appraisal. If some of your employee is going to have a very good performance, but that performance is not in ethical way, there should not be some appraisal. For example, you have a salesman who gives you very high revenue, but you got to know that he's doing all of this through the smuggling of your product into another country. Then you need to take some steps, some legal steps against him. This is your ethical responsibility to look into the matter. Number three, encourage whistleblowing. It is the same thing as I have discussed earlier, that you need to have some mechanism through which unethical behavior can be reported. A hint. Number four, monitor department and corporate performance regarding the ethical issue. That your departments are going to have the corporate performance criterias, they are going to meet the corporate performance criterias while performing in an ethical way or not. Some of unethical behaviors. The first one and the most important is the bribes. A gift bestowed to influence a recipient's conduct. It is illegal in many countries and acceptable in others, but I didn't found any country where it is acceptable. Might be there something. If you know some of the country, you can let me know. Where the gift can influence the conduct of the recipient in the favor of the gift payer, it comes under the section of the bribe. So it should not be acceptable, even it needs to be reported. It needs to be reported. Make it sure. Now, our second part, the social responsibility comes, but before that, we're going to have a class exercise. Let's have this class exercise. Then we are going to start the next topic, the social responsibility. Okay, my dear students, now it's a time to discuss the social responsibility. So, what do you think about the social responsibility? Yes, it is something about when organization needs to do something for the society. The society in which it operates. Like as a as an individual, we need to perform something beyond the responsibility at our house which has been given to you because you belong to that house. The same way, organization belongs to one society. So, as a proactive part of that society, they needs to do something for the betterment of the society and for the welfare of the society, so that society gives the value in the return to the organization. So let's move on and let's see what we need to do in the social responsibility. Social responsibility are the actions an organization takes beyond what is legally required to protect or enhance the well-being of living things. Corporate social responsibility is also known as the corporate social responsibility means CSR. So the main point into the corporate social that it is something beyond what is legal. One organization needs to be careful about emitting the smoke which contains the carbon particles, and that is a legal binding. If they invest into a plant which filter out the carbon from the smoke and then emits the smoke after filtration of the carbon particles, this act should not be considered as the part of corporate social responsibility because this was something which was required legally, something which goes beyond the legal requirements. For example, we have many of the examples of social responsibility, like Mughal Eye Hospital. That is the hospital developed by the Mughal steel for to perform the corporate social responsibility. Mumtaz Bukhtavar Hospital. That hospital is developed by the Guard group of companies, Guard Rice and Guard Brick Foods and the other parts of automobiles. And they have developed this hospital as a trust for the welfare of the society in which they operate. And we have many more examples like this. Now, there is a need to discuss the social policy. The social policy concerns what responsibilities the firm has to its employees, consumers, environmentalists, minorities, communities, shareholders, and other groups. And this policy should be announced in some way, in some form, so the people who has some concern to these areas, there is a person who is the employee, there is a person who is a consumer, there is a person who is the environmentalist, there is some minority person, there are some people belongs to some specific community, shareholders or other groups. They got to know that what responsibility this firm is going to perform. And the second point, the social policy should be considered during each stage of strategy formulation, implementation, and evaluation, that we should check that all of our uh, stakeholders have been considered by this strategy formulation or implementation or evaluation, and there should not be some area where we are going against our social policy. We should evaluate it at different time, different moments. Social policies on retirement, worker shortages in countries around the world are leading to changes in retirement and immigration policies. You should give the policy of about the retirement of your employees. As nowadays there is a demand of the skilled people, so you should have some specific policy as an organization on to the retirement of the people. Many countries has extended the age of retirement from the 60 year to 65 or 70 years because they didn't have enough people to perform that job. Now, the environmental sustainability, but my dear students, uh, I have not given you any document yet about the social responsibility because at the end of the chapter, I'll give you a sustainability performance report of ICI, in which we are going to look what they are going to perform as corporate social responsibility, as environmental sustainability, and and in economic terms. means in the triple bottom line, because now it's the need of the survival that every organization should issue a sustainable performance report at the end of the year. Same like as they issue the financial report at the end of the year. It is as important as the financial report of the year because many investors never like to invest into the company who didn't contribute something into the society and into the environment. So let's see some of the important concepts of environmental sustainability. The extent that an organization's operation and actions protect, mend, and preserve rather than harm or destroy the natural environment is called environmental sustainability. My dear students, please keep in mind if you cannot preserve the environment, at least you can protect in the way you have received it. You should not harm, you should not destroy the natural environment. So, we give the society as beautiful to our upcoming generations as beautiful we have received it. So, by keeping this thing in your mind, we need to protect this society for our upcoming generations. The responsibility about the environment sustainability on a company is more than the individuals because they are using this environment to produce the goods and they are earning far above the normal profits. So if they are earning the profits from this environment by using its resources, they should spend something for the protection of the society. So the strategies of companies are scrutinized and evaluated from a natural environmental perspective. That either these strategies are going to have something for the protection or for the preservation, for the improvement of the environment, natural environment or not. Employees, consumer, governments, and society are resentful of firms that harm rather than protect the natural environment. So many people don't like to work for the company who is not protecting the natural environment or who is trying to harm. Unfortunately, we are going to have very uh, bad responses about this. One of the main company in Pakistan, I don't like to take the name, and they were going to have a one of their plant near to a one of very famous housing society of Lahore, and they were in the case for the environmental damages from last 28 years. And for 28 years, they have taken the stay from the court and they were operating into that area and continuously polluting. And finally, now they have moved their plant from that area to some other industrial location. And before that, they were operating into that residential area and damaging the society. And still, that residential area was very happily going to use their product. They didn't boycott for the product of that company. It was quite easy that if they were going to have the boycott 28 years ago of that company's product, obviously they didn't go for the stay from the court and they were in the position to move their plant very long ago from that residential area to some industrial state. But because people were not going to boycott their product, so they were going to sell all of their commodities in the same way. Sustainability report. As I have talked to you in the start of environmental sustainability topic, that we are going to have a sustainability report, but this sustainability report is not going to cover the actions of a company in terms of environmental protection. Even this is going to cover the corporate social responsibility and the economic point of view. So it reviews how a firm's operation impact the natural environment. These reports are not required but are good business practices. Uh, I'm going that these reports are not required. They are required from the people who love their environment because such people don't like to buy the products of the company who are not publishing such reports. The reports which are going to operations and the actions of the company into that area. Lack of standards changing, making claim that a product or process is green is becoming more difficult as standards are put into place. There are many standards which different organizations are going to follow and they need to follow. As you have seen or you have listened the term of green gas, many air conditioners and refrigerators are labeled by green gas refrigeration. It means the gases are not harmful for the ozone layer and for the environment. So, giving the label of green is something far beyond than the following some standards. Standards? Yes, there are some standards which we are going to discuss in the upcoming slides, like ISO 14000. So, if we're going to follow the ISO 14000 series standards, after implementing those standards, you cannot call yourself the green company because for a green company, you need to do something more than that standard. Now, there's the Obama regulation that is about the USA new clean technology business startups about the solar energy, wind energy, biofuels, insulations. You know about the Tesla cars in America. So all of these are through the clean technology, and these are given. These startups are under done under under the regulation of Obama regulation. So these are something in Pakistan we are not going to have such kind of actions. Even we have started two coal power projects which are going to uh, hazardous for the environment, but we have started these plants to get more energy. Uh, so we are not moving towards solar, wind, water energy. We can have the water dams, but we are not going to build the dams. However, they are not uh, going to harm the environment, but still. So, as a nation, we need to have some national strategies towards the clean technology or the green technology. Managing environmental affairs in the firm, managers must formulate strategy that preserve and conserve the natural resources and control the pollution. They should not formulate such strategy which are going to have any kind of harm to the environment. Environmental strategies could include developing or acquiring green businesses, divesting or altering environment damaging businesses, striving to become a low cost producer through waste minimization and energy conservation. Most recently, National Hospital Multan, they have moved to the Energy Conservation Hospital. They have spent around 10 million rupees, I think more than this. And they have replaced all the lights and the fans and the air conditions to the energy efficient lights and fans and the air conditioning systems. So, the next point is pursuing a differentiation strategy through green product feature. This is quite a difficult task which one can do, that they can produce something which is a green product. Green product which is not going to harm the environment, but that is going to improve the environment. There's a need for the training about the environment for our upcoming graduates. So company prefers to hire graduates to training in environmental issues. That's going to be done into some multinational firms. So institutes need to do something. Institutes needs to have some kind of training programs which are going to keep the concerns of the environmental protection. Like University of Central Punjab is going to have EPS, Environmental Protection Society. So these kind of steps should be taken by other industries as well. And if you people are going to be a part of that society, it can help you in getting the job in future. So you should participate in such societies, which are going to give solution to some of the societal problems. Reasons why firms should be green. The first one, it's a consumer demand. Number two, public opinion is good about the firms who are green. They have good opinion about those firms. Number three, environmental advocacy groups are going to refer your product. They are going to promote your products because You're working into their concern. Federal and state environmental regulations are going to bound you. Then the different vendors are going to vend you because you are moving towards a green. You can lend some amount from the banks onto the project of Be Green. Consumers, suppliers, distributors, and investors are going to have concern about the green practices, and you can protect yourself from the liability suits and fines. In this section, I can show you a movie. I've planned this movie and I'll discuss it with the authorities of university that I will show you some movie online uh, about environmental concerns. So after getting the approval, I'm going to have a show of a movie for you. Another approach is the you need to be proactive. You should not be reactive. Reactive means you got some damages and you're going to change those mistakes what you have done. So despite you should be proactive and you try to do more than the bare minimum. And what reactive people do, they changing only when forced to be to by the law or consumer pressures. My dear students, now we need to talk about the ISO 14000 14001 certification, the family of international standardization. ISO is the full form, its full form is International Organization for Standardization, and it's a network of standards institutes of 147 countries. Many of the institutes are going to belong from Pakistan as well. Largest developer of sustainability standards in the world, and the compliance of these standards is voluntary. They didn't ask or bound any firm to obey their standards, but many organizations are voluntary go for the compliance with these standards so they can set a benchmark towards the environmental sustainability. ISO 14000, a series of voluntary standards in the environmental field, and 14001, a set of standards included within ISO 14000 series. So, as previously I discussed, this 14000 is a family of standards. So, adopted by thousands of firms worldwide to certify that they are conducting business in an environmental friendly manner. It guarantees that they are performing their business, they're conducting their business in the manner which is environmental friendly. And what is the result? Result is the environmental management system, EMS. What is EMS? This is a system which helps an organization to protect the environment, to perform the managerial responsibility in a way that they are environmental friendly. And the companies who are going to perform something for the environmental protection, they give a statement of EMS, environmental management system. So they communicate with the society that these are the achievements which we have done under the environmental management system. Electric car network, government funding for manufacturing in America, but not in Pakistan yet. The charging stations are being installed in many cities of USA. Extensive research and development within the auto industry. Companies are replacing gasoline-powered vehicles with hybrid electric nature gas vehicles, but unfortunately, Pakistan is not in the list of those countries who are promoting electric cars. Even we do not yet have the electric bikes into our country. So we should need to focus on to this area. Thank you very much. So this is the end of the chapter, my dear students. We have completed this chapter and now we are going to have some material for the discussion. Before going to that material, I would like you to have your questions, whatever the difficulties you have found in this chapter. If you have anything to discuss, you have some suggestions, you need to ask something. So now this is the open house. So you can ask your questions and queries one by one. Thank you very much.